That's right. Simon and I are joined at this point by talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Mr. Crook, good afternoon to you, mate. Let's start with Leicester City, who have parted company with manager Martí Cifuentes. What else do we know on this one?
Good afternoon. Well, first and foremost, this time next week, it's going to be transfer deadline day, isn't it? And no doubt
lovely.
Simon will be bouncing around the studio in anticipation at that. But yeah,
will you be bouncing? Do you bounce on that day?
Do I bounce
Yes.
on the day of transfer? I try to bounce out the door as quick as possible.
There you go. You knew that was coming, Alex.
Well, someone who has bounced out the door at Leicester is Martí Cifuentes, as you mentioned. I think we all probably saw this coming after Leicester were beaten at home by Oxford at the weekend. They are languishing a long way off the playoff places, which I think was the hierarchy's ambition at the start of the season. Not necessarily sure that Leicester's squad is befitting of a promotion challenge. And it does beg the question, who would want this job next? Because there's still a threat of a points deduction hanging over Leicester City. I'm told the dressing room is not the best place to be right now. There are a lot of players who have had that taste of Premier League football, maybe feel they should still be playing in the Premier League. Perhaps there's a doubt over some of those senior players' attitudes and application as well. So I think Martí Cifuentes was fighting a losing battle. The latest information I have is that Leicester want an experienced manager to come in. They've hired Andy King, a club legend, a former Premier League title winner with Leicester as a player, no less. He'll take interim charge. One or two names that have been mentioned in the last 24 hours. Lee Carsley, current England under-21 manager. Tony Mowbray, who obviously has got a lot of experience at that level. And you've got the Cardiff manager, Brian Barry Murphy, as well as your former Leicester City coach. But I'm not sure that given their current financial situation, they can necessarily, Leicester, afford to pay compensation for an in-work manager.
It's unusual, Simon. Such was Cifuentes' desire to take over at Leicester. He personally paid part of his own compensation package, and that was in excess of £400,000. Now it's gone pear-shaped, now he's out the door. I mean, this is what can happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're only 6 points off the playoffs.
I mean, I think QPR fans were a little disenfranchised or disillusioned with his outlook towards getting out of QPR or departing from Queen's Park Rangers, if my recollection shows me correctly. No, it's not an easy job at Leicester. They've got their comeuppance a little bit, haven't they? They've been clever and tap danced their way around all the consequences of their own behaviour over the last 2 or 3 years. Used the lawyer Nick DeMarco to find themselves in a Bermuda Triangle of consequences in terms of never being consequenced in the EFL or the Premier League. It's caught up with them now. And it's a sad scenario because at one point they were the poster boys for so many good things in football. Obviously, the tragedy of losing their owner and his son taking over, they've never seemed to have the same momentum. They obviously won the FA Cup. I think Brendan Rodgers left them in a state, as he often does. And all that's now being brought to home. And now they're languishing in the Championship. They're languishing in the middle to the bottom of the Championship with no seemingly positive upward movement to get them back into the Premier League.
As I say, 6 points off the playoffs.
Sure, but I mean, a team that's in decline. It's not in. They're not in ascendancy. They haven't fired their manager because they're going well, are they?
No, this is true. Andy Robertson staying with Liverpool or going to Tottenham?
Well, I think as we sit here now with a week of the window left, he's more likely to stay than go. This really started to gather momentum after we came off air, actually, on Friday afternoon. Robertson out of contract at Liverpool at the end of the season. Talks had already taken place with Tottenham about joining them in the summer as a free agent. Tottenham trying to accelerate that move because obviously they need all the help they can get given their precarious Premier League position. And I think there was a willingness at one point to get this deal done. Liverpool lose at Bournemouth. Milos Kerkez doesn't have the best game in the world against his old club. And I think ultimately at the moment, Liverpool have decided they can't afford to let one of their most senior players go. Robertson, for his part, was not openly agitating for the move. I think he would have done it had the two clubs been able to agree a transfer that would have been worth around about £5 million to include add-ons to Liverpool. But ultimately, they think it'll be more benefit to stay in the building. They're still trying to get in the top 4 or 5 in the Premier League. They're still in a really good position in the Champions League, so plenty to play for. I could understand why Tottenham are going after a player like Robertson because I think they do lack a bit of character and a bit of experience in that dressing room. But at the moment, it just won't happen. One of the reasons is because they tried to recall Tsimikas, Liverpool, from his loan at Roma, but I don't think Roma were particularly keen to do that. So they are a little bit light at the back.
I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, Simon. From a Scottish viewpoint, we need Andy Robertson to play because it's a World Cup year. We want to get some game time before we and he head off to the US of A. But I mean, it's interesting that another Premier League club has said, well, if you don't want to play in Liverpool, we do, and that club is Tottenham. But it does look as if he'll
Is he out of contract at the end of the season, Alex?
He is, yeah.
So again, it's another opportunity for him at the end of the season to perhaps make more money out of a transaction than by going to Tottenham. Whatever the $5 million costs Tottenham is less than he'll get in his salary. I don't know whether Andy Robertson would be of use to Tottenham. I mean, obviously they must think he will be, otherwise they wouldn't be inquiring about him. I think they've got other fish to fry that are more important than a left back. But I'm surprised he's not in the Liverpool side because, I mean, Kirk has played all right against Marseille, but he was dreadful against Bournemouth. On the weekend.
As Alex was saying, not the best game. Lucas Paqueta, where are we at with him?
I think this one's going to happen now, Jim. Flamengo, we've been reporting on their interests for a good week or so now. I know that originally Nuno Espirito Santo was digging his heels in and telling the hierarchy there that they needed Paqueta to stay at least until the Brazilian window closes in the first week of March. But there does seem to be confidence now coming out of South America that this one will be done. They've made a new offer, Flamengo, of around about 41 million euros. There was a suggestion they could even buy Paqueta and then loan him back. I'm told that's unlikely now. I think this will be a straight sale. And a lot of West Ham fans don't seem too upset to see him go. I don't think he's been brilliant for the last 18 months or so, and obviously has been out of action with a rather suspect back injury, shall we say, since this interest from Flamengo came to light.
I think it will be looked back, Simon, as something of an unfulfilled spell in the Premier League.
Well, it'll look back on that his career was interrupted by awful allegations that he was completely exonerated from, and then subsequently sued for all the commissions and opportunities that he should have subsequently got for these terrible allegations that had no substance.
There you go. Oscar Bobb, is he moving closer to Fulham, Alex?
I think this one is still up in the air at the moment. We know that Fulham have been in talks with Manchester City about a potential £35 million move to Craven Cottage. The feeling I get as we head into the last week of the window is that Oscar Bobb is just waiting to see what other opportunities might come his way. I spoke to Marco Silva actually after Fulham's last gasp win over Brighton at the weekend. He was confident of getting some deals done between now and the window closing next week. I did push him on his own future actually, because he was saying how much he wanted Harry Wilson, the late match winner, to sign a new contract. So I said, hold on, Marco, what about yourself? You're out of contract in the summer as well. If you're urging Harry Wilson to sign on the dotted line, are you any closer to agreeing to stay? And he said, no, I know the club want to keep me, but let's see what happens. So not much of a commitment there from the Fulham manager.
How often do we hear this?
I mean, surely what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting one. If I'm Oscar Bobb, I would be looking around because Fulham's a nice club. It's a nice club. He's playing at Manchester City currently, or not as regularly as he'd like to, but it's a real departure to go to Fulham from Manchester City. So I'm not surprised he's not jumping at the opportunity.
Yeah.
Would he be a good signing for Fulham? I mean, they're doing well. I mean, what I saw at Fulham at the beginning of December was I thought they were lightweight. Palace beat them 2-1. A Palace side that's now gone on a run of form, which is, disastrous at this moment in time. But Palace were by far the better side. Fulham looked nice on the eye. The best player on the field was Harry Wilson, who scored another great goal. But Oscar Bobb going to Fulham, I'm not surprised he's not jumping in a taxi and heading down.
And heading off there. What about Bournemouth finally? Winners at the weekend, of course, over Liverpool. Are they beginning to spend some of the Semenyo money?
Yeah, do you know what? I think quietly, Jim, they've actually had a decent window. They've got a medical going on today for the 19-year-old Brazilian Ryan. He's seen as the long-term replacement for Antoine Semenyo, and he turned down big offers from Saudi Arabia and from Europe to make this move. They've signed Alex Toth as well, a midfielder from Robbie Keane's Ferencváros. He came on and got a bit of a taste of it against Liverpool at the weekend in that amazing win for Bournemouth. And now a new goalkeeper arriving as well, Christos Mandas, a Greek international. It's a £1.3 million loan deal initially with a £16 million buy option at the end of the season. That will be triggered if he plays a certain percentage of games. I think it's around 50% between now and the end of the season. And they have had doubts about Petrovic, who they signed in the summer. So I think Mandas is coming in to challenge him to be the new number one.
Okay, Alex, terrific. What sort of final day do you think we'll have?
I think something dramatic's going to happen, Jim. I've just got a feeling it's been a relatively quiet window so far. You take Manchester City and the couple of signings they've made out the equation. Somebody is going to take us by surprise on transfer deadline day. And you know what? It just might be Manchester United giving Michael Carrick a bit of a gift on deadline day.
There you go. There you go. We can reveal exclusively something is going to be done by somebody. Alex, thank you very much indeed. That was all thanks to Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks and you will find out more.